Good evening. I'm going to try and get rid of all these disruptors, and then we're going to continue. Basically, I get announcements as part of some of the other shows. All right. So, good evening, and welcome to Time to Be Reasonable. Sorry it took a minute. I was trying to figure out the background, and it was kind of a little pain in the butt. But anyway. So, the trick with discussing anything like this is to consider all of the different aspects of it. And the one thing that I'm going to do, because I think it's the respectful thing to do, and I know that I put my announcement in the libertarian discussion area, and it's possible that maybe that won't, I might get some comments that aren't super friendly because they feel that the issue isn't being given the same respect, or I think, I don't know. I don't want to give, I guess we'll see. And that way I'm not making a response until I see what's going on, because that's the logical and fair and reasonable thing to do. First, I want to talk about something. I put it in the both discussion groups, Golden State Libertarians and the Libertarian Discussion Group, a Libertarian Party discussion, excuse me, on Facebook. And I haven't discussed this in Treehouse yet. Clubhouse, Treehouse, I think. I mean, Clubhouse is weird because I feel like I don't know, like I would have to go on and really be ready to talk about something. And so far, right now, all I've seen is some writer stuff, so I haven't really seen anything libertarian to talk about. But I asked if we consider libertarianism, or at least the Libertarian Party, to have everything on a spectrum, basically saying that, okay, so like the furthest extreme of libertarianism is that we abolish the tax system, we end the Fed, and we have gun rights, and we abolish the education system, and we don't believe in universal health care or any kind of a welfare system at all, or any kind of infringement of the government upon anyone for any real reason. However, I was asking, okay, that's the furthest extreme, but wouldn't it be true that there are people within that line that are not necessarily all the way to that extreme, but they are more like, they're obviously not Republicans or Democrats, but they would be within that spectrum, that line of thought, where, like, for instance, they could be more for like school choice, or they could be more for I don't know, like some kind of a market answer for healthcare, or they could be for some type of, where, they'd be like, I'm totally for all all arms, but I don't think people should have rocket launchers because I think it will mess up the neighborhood, let's say. And I'm using a silly example because, the point is it's just that it's along a spectrum that's different from. So it just seems to me, because there's a lot of calling out and saying, hey, this person's not a real libertarian. And I'm like, are we saying, like, as a party or as a group, well, maybe that's a differentiation too. But are we saying as a libertarian that a libertarian has to believe in all of these things equally, completely, totally, and if they don't totally believe in that, then they're not a real libertarian? Or if they're on a spectrum of any kind towards those ways of thinking, are they a libertarian? as well. I mean, this is just food for thought. I would love to get some responses on that. You can respond to me, of course, on YouTube, and or you can respond to me right in Golden State where I posted it, or Libertarian discussion, Libertarian Party discussion. Now, today we're going to discuss tonight we're going to discuss a hot button topic that has been a hot button topic forever. And that topic is abortion. However, we're not discussing the Roe v. Wade repeal tonight. It might come up. But we are more discussing the move to change the platform and some of the thoughts and reasons why. I have to be upfront and say, while I am trying to be objective about this, there is obviously going to be some subjectivity, because I will flat out tell you that I disagree with the idea of changing the platform. And some of the reasons I'll get into. But I am going to still try and give the perspective of the majority side, or maybe they're not the majority. It's hard to tell who the majority is, if it is, in fact, I mean, we know that this group is very politically organized and is going to come in and probably put a lot of their candidates in positions. But what we don't know is if this group is, I couldn't say for sure that every single person that's would be pushing this would be necessarily I don't know if everybody is going to be pushing towards this particular change in the plank. I don't know what the numbers are as far as in the party are concerned. But I know that as written right now, the libertarian plank is, I'm going to pull it up because I don't like, I'm trying to be very accurate, and I'm going to get a light on in a minute because I know that I'm going to lose my light and it's going to not look amazing. Actually, you know what? I may just pop the old little portable on here. Oh, maybe not. It needs some charging. So yeah, I'm going to have to get up in a minute. But first, let me read the plank as written. Libertarian Party. Now, some of our Time to Be Reasonable kind of explain how libertarianism is, and you're going to find out some things you may not have known, but it's not going to be, this is more of a intermediate conversation. But let's see. National Committee, staff, bylaws, Wikipedia, the issues. Here's our platform. The current platform, I'm not reading the whole platform. This isn't going to be like the other day. Here we are. Point 1.5, abortion. Recognizing that abortion is a sensitive issue and that people can hold good faith views on all sides, we believe that government should be kept out of the matter, leaving the question to each person for their conscientious consideration. That's currently what our platform is. Now, the one thing is while I might kind of, try and put my hands on what the other side's thoughts are. I don't know what they're going to propose as the new plank, what it would say exactly. I have a feeling it would have something to do with condemnation or something along those lines, and I don't know if it actually would be talking about like putting in policy of some kind, which would be new, since I don't think there's ever been where libertarians are like, yeah, we want to do this. But there's the UBI movement, the universal basic income, but like the Democrats kind of ended up taking that in with Yang and his group of people, Andrew Yang. So I don't know. I don't know if there's ever been any case where libertarians have been like, yeah, we should have this policy that actually makes people do things, because that's always seemed like the antithesis of a libertarian policy to me, but or of a libertarian position to me, not a policy, but a libertarian position. Basically the whole idea of the non-aggression principle and libertarian, the non-aggression principle. Okay, so this is where you get kind of a crash course. So the non-aggression principle is basically that you're not supposed to use force on another person. And basically no one should act upon you unless they are acted upon. So it's basically like you're not supposed to attack anybody unless they've attacked you in some way or they've aggressed on you. Some people take that to a degree of like that politics is because it's affecting you, or speech on a Facebook post is affecting you. And some people won't even take the time to explain it. They'll make little laughy things. I'm not sure what that's about, but hey, whatever. But seriously, like that's a response. But anyway, the idea of the non-aggression principle is, like I said, so therefore, laws are not supposed to be made that would force someone to do something, and we are against those laws that do so. So then I'm trying to figure out how you would go about making people do something that they don't want to do, i.e., women who have babies or that become pregnant and no longer want to be pregnant. And one of the things is one of the largest. I saw this according to CNN, and I mean you can debate that or not. I could look up Pew, but then that's debatable. We'll just use CNN because the reality is like any publication is debatable, and that's like it's kind of a waste of time. Like saying, well, this particular publication isn't of value. I learned that in debate really early on that you don't make that argument because it's just one thing is you don't know, like from a perspective of a judge or something, they don't you don't know what paper they read and what they think is of value. And while I know that most libertarians may not consider CNN a proper source, understand that it's a source that's in front of me when I'm getting my treatment, and it's what I'm seeing. So I know that it is a number, and the number for abortions, it ends up being that more often than not, it is the pill that is actually being used for abortion more often than not, like the morning after pill or RU 486. So just to let people know that that's kind of really to a degree what we're talking about. I mean, there's a lot of there's abortions as well, like the what people can going to Planned Parenthood and getting an abortion, or going to a clinic and getting an abortion. But the so then the question is like, I don't know if this platform that is being discussed would include policy, Here's what I do know, and that is the libertarian perception on abortion. First, to quote one of the original Wall, always treated libertarianism as a bastard child. Russian-born American novelist Ayn Rand argued that the notion of a fetus having a right to life is vicious nonsense, and stated an embryo has no rights. A child cannot acquire any rights until it is born. She also wrote that abortion is a moral right which should be left to the sole discretion of the woman involved morally. Nothing other than her wish in the matter is to be considered. Leonard Peikoff, a close associate of Ayn Rand and co-founder of the Ayn Rand Institute, stated that tiny growth, that massive protoplasm, exists as a part of a woman's body. It is not an independently existing biologically formed organism, let alone a person. Sentencing a woman to sacrifice her life to an embryo is not upholding the right to life. The anti-abortionist claim to being pro-life is a classic big lie. You cannot be in favor of life and yet demand the sacrifice of an actual living individual to a clump of tissue. Anti-abortionists are not lovers of life, lovers of tissue maybe, but their stand marks them as haters of real human beings. So that was their thoughts. So that's what, like, some early libertarians thought. Murray Rothbard wrote that no being has a right to live unbidden as a parasite upon some person's body, and that therefore the woman is entitled to eject the fetus from her body at any time. However, explaining the right to the woman to eject the fetus of the body, he also wrote that every baby, as soon as it is born and is therefore no longer contained within its mother's body's possession, mother's body, possesses the right of self-ownership by virtue of being a separate entity and a potential adult. It must therefore be illegal and a violation of the child's rights for a parent to aggress against his person by mutilating, torturing, or murdering him or her. Just thought I'd add that. He didn't. I'm not sure why. Rothbard also opposed all federal interference with the right of local governments to fashion their own laws. So he opposed the Supreme Court Roe v. Wade decision. He believed that states should be able to author their own abortion policies. He also opposed taxpayer funding for abortion clinics, writing as particularly monstrous to force those who abhor abortion to murder to pay for such murders, which is the reason that we have the plank that we have in the platform, because basically the idea being that we won't make people pay for something that they don't agree with, or we don't believe that the government should make people pay for something that they don't agree with, and we also don't think that the government should necessarily stop it at the same time. So I was looking at Tucker's opinion here on this, but I'm probably going to and then the other thoughts being that of evictionism, which is interesting, which is basically sees the baby as an unwanted trespasser, that the mother, because she has property rights, her fetus should be able to get rid of the trespasser. However, killing it would have to stop at killing, but if there is enough of an advance, that there should be enough advances in science where the baby could be taken out so that it did not have to, so it wasn't taking up space as a tenant, so that it could be evicted. The other one being which is a different argument. That of, man, my brain just emptied. Basically, the other one being the same exact thing, except for saying just basically stopping at the point that you cannot kill an unwanted trespasser, so therefore you can't kill an unwanted baby, basically. But it doesn't really go into, like I said, like the whole pill issue. I think that there are a lot of that this is an issue where there are multiple people that feel within the party that there's two very strong beliefs about this, and therefore we should look at it that way. But I'm going to make another argument, kind of quoting Dave Smith. I was listening to Dave Smith on the discussing immigration, and he made a good argument regarding basically saying that, yes, okay, so we say that we're open borders, but realize that we're the only ones that have that want that, and that even most of the most of the voters out there, or non-voters out there, basically most of the citizenry, are not looking for open borders. Like that's kind of where in their mind where things would stop. Like, that it's an independent thing that we libertarians have come up with and we believe in. And I thought about that, and that's interesting, because then it's a question of, okay, so we're making ourselves less connective to the general populace, and just basically to everyone, and that might not be good. Now, I was just curious about this situation. Let's just look up, I don't know, should Roe v. Wade be overturned? And I wasn't planning on getting into this, but I'm just looking at it for this particular reason. Overturn poll. Because I wanted to see from Politico, which I know is kind of turned. I'm trying to find Pew Research. U.S. public continues to favor legal abortion by 61 to 37%. Right now, our policy is that government shouldn't be involved either way. So, using the same exact argument that Dave Smith was saying, and obviously, and if you have some words for me, Dave, that's fine. I understand. But basically, my thoughts being that if we know that people don't favor making abortions illegal, then we should, by your logic, then not change the plank, because it would just add, it just makes our electing process and activism that much harder. So it would make sense to keep our plank the same way, because if not, then we gain more friction, and since we don't want to gain friction, we should not do that. Now, the other argument I have on this is, Now, people aren't going to like this, but body autonomy. So I think we have to be consistent as libertarians. If we're going to say that everybody has a right to their body, then they have a right to their body. If you're saying that the government can't say, the government or anyone can't say that you have to wear a mask or that you have to get a shot, even if it would save the general public or make people safer or anything like that, it's not their business. It's not their right. It's beyond their purview. So if that's the case, then it is also beyond their purview to tell a woman how they can or to tell anyone. Well, I mean, I'm saying the same thing. It's really weird to me that I have to say it this way, but basically that it's equally wrong to tell a woman or have anybody, government or otherwise, tell a woman what she can do with her body. If it's not acceptable to tell someone, hey, you need to get a shot by May 5th or something like that, then it's not acceptable to tell a woman that she cannot have a procedure And I understand there's going to be some people that are saying, yeah, but you're killing a baby. Okay, that's true. You are killing a life. However, keep in mind that some of the reason that that were said for wearing a mask or vaccinating was to make sure to prevent death of individuals. And the Libertarian Party said, hey, they can put themselves away. Now, maybe that's the argument, is that a baby can't stop themselves from being harmed, so therefore they need to be protected. But I got into a big argument about that. It's like, well, if you're wandering around a store and you put disease on something and then I get it, then it affects me because I'm immunocompromised. Then that is a thing that could happen, and therefore it's not, you're not protecting, you're causing harm to me by not, following certain procedures or whatever. Even making the argument of not even talking about legally enforcing such things, but just saying that, like moral responsibility, or just, that you should probably feel these obligations towards people. But it seems to me that if that's true, then why is it not true that an individual adult woman cannot do likewise and say, hey, I'm not going to raise a child for 18 years because I'm not ready, or I think that this could be destructive to my body, or for whatever reason under the sun, that it's her ability to do so. I think that that's a very strange breakup. And I've seen people make this argument and they're like, well, no, that's not true. And that's it. Well, no, it is. It's either we believe in body autonomy, or we don't. We don't believe in something when it's convenient. That was never an ideal. It was brought up by some of these people that were looking at libertarianism, and I think now it's like we're comfortable. I think now we have comfortable libertarians in that they want certain things to happen. They want some force to occur, but so it's libertarianism and freedom when comfortable, but not when not comfortable. It's like the people that look at 8chan and are like, well, when we said free speech, we didn't mean it to this extent because, there's people talking and there's pictures that I feel uncomfortable with. But if you're talking about free speech, then you are actually talking about free speech. You're talking about real freedom. So you can't just take principles and, pick the ones and cherry pick the principles that you like. If you're going to say that you agree with these, like, I'm sure people are like, well, what about your examples? Like, well, what I would ask at the very beginning of the show, and we're going to wrap up very soon. What I asked at the very beginning of the show is libertarianism on a spectrum? And people that are on that spectrum would say, hey, this is what I believe and this is what I'm following. These are my principles. So I'm not saying like you have to have all the principles of said thing. I'm saying that if you say that this is what your principles are, then you ought to stick to them, because you can't just be like, well, I'm for body autonomy when it works, but when it doesn't, or when I'm uncomfortable. Oh, and another thing, because I did mention this, and this is where I'm going to end. Somebody was talking about the fact that abortion is murder. And murder is bad. That is redundant, because murder means immoral killing or bad killing, wrongful killing. So to say that wrongful killing is bad is obviously truism. And with that, and hopefully we delved in a little bit into the platform and consideration, and hopefully people will consider that. And hopefully, we can come together again as a party and as a country. This has been Time to Be Reasonable. Thanks for tuning in. Good night, everybody.